Now another hour of 580 CFRA's Experts on Call. Tips, information, and advice from professionals and business owners in our community. Here's your host, Dave Watts.
And a good afternoon to you once again. Spring and summertime here, of course. It's our time to get out into the backyard, relax, and enjoy. And this hour, we're going to help you to get your property professionally fenced in and get that deck done or fix up that railing or whatever needs to get done. That's only the beginning, too. A special welcome to Experts on Call on News Talk 580 CFRA and Wally Montpetit. He's the owner of Ottawa-based Fence-All. Good afternoon, Wally.
Hi, Dave.
Nice to chat with you. I have to say, just before I must say, we've got the phone lines open at 521-TALK, 521-8255. If you have a question on fencing, give us a call, and we'll get Wally to provide some kind of a response or an answer for you. Anyway, I got to tell you, Wally, your commercials on TV, on CTV, are fantastic.
Well, thank you.
You know, every time I see them, my wife says, "Oh, there's that really cute commercial again." Who are some of the folks in that commercial?
Yeah, they're all family. So
okay.
Right now it's one daughter, my oldest daughter, Sarah.
Okay.
But over the years we've done it's been a continuing story, and now she's 27 years old, and this year's current version started off she was 5. Right. Now all of her sisters and her brother are all in the same ad.
Well, that's terrific. Well, every time it comes on, it's almost like we got to see this commercial because it's so good. It's really well done. Congrats on that, by the way.
Thank you.
All right. Now, a lot more to talk about, of course, along the way this hour. And as I mentioned, the phone lines are wide open. If you have a question on a fence, perhaps a deck, railing, or maybe a gazebo you're thinking of building, give us a shout. Our producer, Eric, will get you set up and on the air with us at 521-TALK. That's 521-8255. Now, I got to ask a little bit about the background of Fence-All. Wally, how did it come about?
Well, Fence-All's a 41-year-old company, started by a local pool company. And after a few years of doing pools, they were already in the pool business. Obvious connection would be fence for fence would help their customers. And a few years later, they realized there's a bit more to it than they thought. And here we are 41 years later.
Well, that's right. Well, with every pool, you need a fence.
Exactly it, yeah.
So that kind of opens the door for an expanded business initiative. That's for sure, an opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
How about that? So 40 years young.
Yeah, getting younger every day.
Now, you've certainly showed lots of expansion in some of the products that you're offering and services. We're going to get into that as well. But proper fencing is often taken for granted. Now, the importance of the right approach to a specific requirement is there. Why is proper fencing often neglected? In other words, good enough isn't good enough.
Yeah, in the end, people assume that it's not that important until after they have their $10,000 fence around their whole backyard for 20 years, and they wish they had done a little more research. Today, the truth is it's easier than ever because of the internet. You can find out the information, and our best customers read more than 50 pages on our own website. There's a study we did just this week.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is, if you want to capsulize the Fence-All policy or mission, what would it be?
We're trying to be the first answer for fence.
Okay.
If you're thinking fence, think Fence-All.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you've got a bunch of awards, too. 20 Consumer Choice Awards? This is amazing.
Yeah, since they came to Ottawa. So they came to Ottawa in 1997, the Consumer's Choice Award company, and they do an independent review. They hire a company to do phone surveys, and every single year, Fence-All is the first choice in fence.
Now, if a customer wants to get a really good quality fence installed on their property, what should they do? What is their process? I mean, it starts with a phone call, obviously, but then what happens?
Yeah, well, we send out a salesman. It's a free estimate, and we provide information based on customers, the information they give us. We provide answers to what the experience tells us would be the best combination for them.
Okay. So then are measurements required? What happens?
Yeah, most people don't have the measurements until we get there.
Okay.
And that's part of what we do. So most people are going to know, like all they'll have done, hopefully they'll have read the site and found lots of information. And like I say, nowadays, you can go look in Chicago and New York City and find other cities and what's popular. And and then you look in Ottawa and you see our site, and we have automated appointment booking on our website. Mm-hmm. So most customers can just go to our website, get all the information there until they're full, and then click their own appointment, pick a time right there. We don't email them back and forth. We just book the appointment, 2:00 Tuesday or whatever it is, right there. Okay. And then we'd be out at 2:00, and within an hour we'll have a price for them and pictures and samples and all stuff. What
is your office phone number and website address?
Okay, we're 613-736-1122, mm-hmm. and the website's fensall.com.
Okay, terrific. Well, there you go. Jot those numbers down. Now, it seems to me, and I stand corrected on this, but one of the things that seems to be gaining popularity these days are gazebos. The 8-sided gazebos, either fenced-in variety or wide open. Why is that?
Well, there's another room in your house, and popular. More than half of the gazebos we do are screened in, but an amazing amount of them aren't. UV, people are scared of UV nowadays and uncomfortable with it. So having a roof over, probably a third of our decks all have some kind of roof over it, at least part of it.
Now, some homes I've seen these days, and I think this could be a growing trend also, if the porch or the porch on, say, a house has the corner of a porch, maybe have a gazebo built out from that corner, kind of extending the porch in a way.
Absolutely, yeah, extending your house.
Yeah, and extending the house. Yeah. Now, is this something that you folks do as well?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we do decks and gazebos both, and fences. So what we want to do is sell you a combination of all of those.
But say they want to just simply retrofit their porch, an existing porch, if it's structurally sound, that can be done.
Yeah,
or,
sure.
As you say, just do the whole thing.
Yeah, whatever it is that you need done.
How much time would something like that take? I guess it really depends on what the needs are, or what the
There's
what's
most decks, are 2 full days.
Okay. So
you might be a week.
Yeah. What kind of issues have you encountered with fences? Have you maybe had
in 40 years? I can tell you everything.
Unique situations that are surprising things that have happened, or you don't have to mention any names. But...
some interesting neighbors. We had one neighbor build a fence, come in and ask specially for a certain date for a certain fence.
Right.
And I didn't know the whole story. He happened to come in the showroom when I was there, and I go, "We're booking about 6 weeks out right now." He goes, "I need it in 3 weeks, and I need it on this particular day, and it has to be a 7-foot high chain link fence." Long story, trying to, not my specialty. But at the end of it all, the reason he needed that day was a 7-foot high was high enough that his neighbor had built an addition on his house so close to the property line that a 7-foot high chain link would mean that he couldn't open his windows. His neighbor would never be able to roll open his windows on his new addition. And if we did it on that day, the neighbor would never be able to put siding on his house.
Because he couldn't squeeze in to do it.
Yeah, because the fence was in, blocking him. And so who's the weird guy? The guy that built the addition that close to the property line, or the guy that spent this money to put a 7-foot high on a certain day?
So what happened?
We got paid. I really don't know. Yeah, we didn't want to. We don't know the rest of the story.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. So there's all kinds of these things. You should write a book.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. Oh yeah, sure.
It's amazing. Wally Montpetit is our guest. He's from Fensall. And Wally's phone number with Fensall, of course, here in Ottawa is 613-736-1122. And their website is fensall.com. Experts on Call is the program on News Talk 580 CFRA. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
580 CFRA's Experts on Call returns in a moment. We now return to Experts on Call on News Talk Radio 580 CFRA.
And our guest this hour is Wally Montpetit. He's the owner of Fensall here in Ottawa. 40 years of satisfied customers. So, Wally, I venture to say hundreds, if not thousands, of satisfied customers over the years.
Yeah, well, hundreds of thousands. Yeah.
Well, there you go. What is your reach? How far do you, your business area? I know certainly the Ottawa
100
area,
miles.
Okay.
So we do the odd job in Montreal, the odd job in Kingston.
Okay.
And lots. This side, the closer you get to Ottawa, the more.
So if you do Montreal, then you also do the Quebec side, like I'm thinking.
Oh, yeah, we do
Gatineau.
Gatineau for sure, yeah.
Oh, perfect. Oh, yeah. That's great. Yeah. Good news. Good stuff. During the break, we were talking about another crazy story. I got to tell you, Wally, you should have your own comedy show. I think this is this is terrific. What happened with was it a squirrel or something that?
Well, I was just saying, one fellow that we did a good-sized project for, at the end, like, we were pretty well done the project, calls and asks us to come down.
Yeah.
And we were like, no idea what it's about. Well, ends up his neighbor, he thought, had thrown a squirrel into his pool. There was a dead squirrel floating in the pool, and he wants to ask the fence guy if it was the neighbor that did it, like as if we would know.
So I guess you said no and left.
Yeah, exactly it. Yeah, there wasn't much for us investigation to do.
Yeah, have a nice day for that one.
Yeah.
All right, some of your products, you folks have a lot of stuff on the go here and a lot of different product lines, including fences, decks, railings, and gates. Let's start with fences. What kinds of fences can customers order, and how do they know if they're getting the right one for their needs?
Well, what I always say to people is chain link is the most economical fence. Good for the value. A chain link fence will do everything you need to do in a fence. It'll keep dogs in, keep dogs out, keep kids in or out, keep neighbors in or out, secure your backyard, protect your boat, whatever it is you need done. The one thing it doesn't do is privacy. Yeah. So the fancier version of chain link is iron. Iron does all the exact same things. It looks very nice. People on the river normally want a see-through fence, and iron is very, very popular on a lake. Anywhere with great visibility.
Sure.
And the other end of the spectrum is wood or PVC. So either of those do the same kind of thing. They're mostly privacy fences and varying degrees. So some people think of what we call a semi-privacy wood fence.
Right.
Some people consider that a privacy fence. It's just down to your taste.
Okay, so I guess it's really difficult to say which one is beneficial over another because they all serve different needs.
Right, exactly. If you're putting a fence down your laneway, you're going to have more salt and snow than an average fence. If you don't have any neighbors and don't need privacy, chain link does a great job. You'll save money and you'll have no maintenance. It's a no-maintenance fence, whereas a wood picket fence has maintenance. If you want to keep that color.
Exactly. Now, what about obstacles? Are there any typical obstacles that you folks might encounter when you're trying to install a fence?
Hydro boxes or something like that. If it's not off your land a little bit and people don't want to give up land.
So that brings up another question. What about digging? You hear these things in the media, check before digging and whatnot. Is this something that you have to do all the time?
Oh, yeah. It's the law. It's the law. You cannot dig in your own yard one post. Like people that put up a post to put their mailbox or whatever else, you need to call. So in Ontario, we have to call. Whoever's digging the hole is in charge of calling the locates. In Quebec, for instance, if you're in our area, in Quebec, the homeowner has to call regardless of who's doing the digging. So there's different laws, and any company you're going to want to talk to is going to advise you on that. Okay,
so basically, a fence is a very personal decision. Can a customer come to you with a design, for example, and then you would custom build a fence?
Absolutely. The only issue with that is we get in Ottawa, or probably everywhere, lots of engineers who have lots of great ideas. How they think they will save money is generally why people want to do that. And as long as you want to spend more doing custom, like anything, if I go to Ford and ask for a specialized thing in my car, it's going to cost more. But in fencing, people don't realize that.
Now, your manufacturing facility, is it here in the Ottawa area?
Yeah, Hawthorne Road.
It is on Hawthorne.
Our whole operation is one spot on Hawthorne Road.
Okay. Now, do you have a showroom? You have a showroom there?
Showroom, yeah. We have our salesmen work out of there, our installers work out of there, and their manufacturing facility all works out of there and out of our yard.
So what is the address on Hawthorne?
3160 Hawthorne Road.
Okay, so showroom is there, and can a customer, a potential customer, can they get a tour of the place as well?
I don't think we're allowed to put them through the manufacturing, to be honest. I think the safety, government, anybody on the radio, I don't want the government inspectors coming down to Hawthorne Road later.
No, that's quite fine. Okay, fences. Now, decks. Decks are unique, certainly, probably as different as there are homes out there, and there are different needs, different sizes, and so on. That must be quite an awesome task for a homeowner to decide, well, we want a deck, but what kind of deck are we going to put up?
Right.
How can you help them with that process?
By sending a salesman out.
Okay.
The truth is, most people, we'll spend an hour with a homeowner, talk about a deck, and tell them about the advantages of this and the advantages. At their particular house, you need to do that. We'll take a measurement and say, okay, if this is where you're coming out of the house, let's measure, okay, you need 5 steps. And a real common thing we have is a homeowner goes, "Oh no, I don't want 5 steps. Just give me 2."
Really?
And it just can't be done. So when people ask, "Well, can't you give me a budget number?" Well, there's so many odd things we have to measure and know about the grade of your, where you're coming out of the house, where you're, all of these information we have to gather to give you. It's about an hour, and so the best information for, people always ask about is price. All of us would want the nicest, but we'd all be driving Cadillacs if if they're all the same price.
Now, with pools, of course, that creates new challenges. If you have a deck at the back door, say a sliding door at the back of your house, but you want to, deck out to the pool, that's something that can be done.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, very popular. Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, that's probably the best. An above-ground pool, that's the best way to get at it anyway.
For sure. And there's materials now that work better than splinters in the wood, that makes it even, again, people don't know about. Yeah. And when you talk to them and show them the difference, then they go into it thinking they've seen it 100 times. I knew somebody in high school that had this, and without looking at it that carefully, their memory tells them they know all about it.
So there are permanent materials there that permanent that don't need maintenance.
Guaranteed for life. Yeah.
Guaranteed for life.
Yeah.
So don't even have to paint them.
You never paint again.
Or stain.
Yeah, never stain. Never paint or stain. It's guaranteed for the homeowner's life.
Well, now, are there kits available?
Yep. Well, it's a custom package.
I see.
We package it together. So we had one this week. We sent a kit off to Labrador City.
Really?
Somebody built their own. Yeah, and this guy, I guess, owned a trucking company, and he took care of that part. And
now, when a customer orders a package from you, they can order it to have it installed or to have it delivered. Is that an option?
Yeah, or just have the post put in. So we have what we call post and supply. So we'll fully install, or we'll put the post in and bring all the materials, but leave it for you to build, and you save a bit of money, or just the materials, and you save the most amount of money.
So how does the warranty work in that case? I guess if it's just shipping it to a location and they're installing it, there's a partial warranty, I guess.
Yeah, the materials are guaranteed for life.
Yeah. Okay.
And then if you cut them wrong or did something wrong, that'd be obviously. But what work we do, if we put the posts in, that's why post and supply is great bang for the buck.
Yeah, exactly.
We guarantee the post won't move, and we guarantee the materials, and you hang the fence.
Now, railings, on the first blush, you might think, well, a railing is a railing is a railing, but it's really more than that because they serve a lot of needs, not just aesthetics, but they also serve a safety need.
Safety, for sure, and that's where you get into bylaws. And in fences, there aren't too many codes other than pools. There's a few rules for pools with a fence.
Okay. With
railings, there's rules for everything, and we're the experts. So part of our design is to make sure we incorporate that into it.
So I guess if a customer has some issues or concerns, not knowing really where to go in terms of railings, it might be to retrofit an existing deck or whatever, or it might be part of a whole new package. Whatever the case, you can answer those questions.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, done it all.
So again, it's just a phone call, and the rep will come out to that house.
Yeah,
to the location.
At the very least, you're getting some free advice and a price.
Well, hey, that's all right.
Yeah.
Now, you've got before we get into, we're going to talk about gates. Maybe we'll get into that in the next segment. But you do have an initiative on the go currently. No tax,
right?
For a limited time. What is that?
If you pay with your order on an installed order,
okay.
If you pay when you place the order, you save all the tax.
Okay.
And it's easy for us, easy for you.
So does it have to be installed within the window of when this opportunity is available?
No, it has to be ordered in that window.
It has to be ordered.
Yeah. While the sale's on, you can have it installed next year if you wanted to. We have some people. We have one fellow right now, I think it was 3 years ago, ordered a glass railing.
Yeah.
It's sitting at our shop right now. It's up and secured somewhere, and he just isn't ready for it. But, place the order, but that doesn't happen very often.
Sure. Now, how long do you figure this no tax initiative will go?
At least for the month of June.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We haven't forecasted past that.
All right.
Yeah.
So now, if there are changes to that, is that something that listeners can check out on the website, or?
Yeah. And there's always the salesmen always have all the details with them. And
best idea really is to call.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about gates for a second here. There are certainly different kinds available. Everything from a chain link gate, perhaps on a chain link fence with vines growing. I can kind of picture that in my mind. But there's all kinds of different gates out there.
Absolutely. Every fence has a gate.
Yeah.
And you don't have to use, they could be complementing each other. They don't have to be this exact same material. And people often say, well, do you not have to do the exact same fence? No. And we're the manufacturer. We can make the gate, and we have the hardware and the tooling to match this aluminum fence with a wood gate, or a wood fence with an aluminum gate. any version of that.
What about a large, say, steel electric gate for a large country property?
Great. Come on down. Yeah, we got you.
You can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We estate gates, we call them.
Okay.
And estate gates, we offer them. We wrap them in vinyl or wood if you wanted to, but most end up being aluminum because it's lightweight.
Right, and they can be controlled from the house.
Yeah. From the house, from your car. You can have it. It will call your house in Florida or your cell phone in Florida in the winter. Tell you someone's at the gate, and then you let them in, and you don't tell them you're not in the house. Somebody for whatever reason delivering something, you just
install a camera nearby, and there you go. All right. Interesting conversation. Wally Montpetit is our guest. He's the owner of Fence-All, a 40-year tradition here in the Ottawa area. And Fence-All is located on Hawthorne Road. Their showroom and facility is there at 3150. Drop out and take a look. We'll be right back on News Talk 580 CFRA with Experts on Call.
Now, back to 580 CFRA's Experts on Call. Here's Dave Watts.
And a good afternoon to you once again. What's that old song? Don't fence me in. No, we're not going to go there. Our guest this hour is Wally Montpetit. He's the owner of Fence-All, an amazing company. It's got a 40-year reputation in the Ottawa area and certainly the architect of some of those fantastic commercials we see on CTV these days. I think it's terrific. I got to say, Wally, those commercials are really super.
Well, thank you. It sure helped to give the timeline as the idea of showing Sarah over the years.
Absolutely.
Gives you a baseline.
And Sarah, if you're listening, it's too bad you couldn't make it down here this afternoon. We would have loved to chat with you for sure. Anyway, getting back to the business at hand here, Wally, Fence-All, certainly that great reputation, but it's really important for the customer, the potential client, to get all of the information. Why is that so?
Well, it's human nature, and I was watching a movie training course just this week, and he made a point of saying how people will hop in their car, drive all the way down to the Rideau Centre, pass 100 stores to find the one store they're looking for, go in, start looking at what they were originally investigating. A salesman will walk up, "Can I help you?" And, well, no, I don't need any help. I'm, whatever. And they're just too shy. And the person that, they give them the information, people often, when you buy batteries, we don't have time to investigate them. We stand in line and grab the one that catches our eye, that looks like the best bang for the buck. In fencing, it's going to be around your yard for 20 years. We've noticed just this week more than the majority of our happiest customers that we can find them on the internet. The majority of them, the one thing in common, they've all read more than 50 pages of information on our website.
Really?
And that's one common thing we've noticed. Not that everybody does that. We have lots of one page, they look at one page and move on. But the happiest customers, when we track them down, know what they're buying before our salesman ever gets there and get the idea of all the options rather than have it installed and then research the information.
Well, when I started researching Fence-All for today's show and I started looking at some of this stuff on the website, I really couldn't believe how much information was there. You're right. I mean, even the FAQs, the frequently asked questions, were complete and very informative. You wouldn't think about many of the things that actually came up in dialogue on those questions.
Yeah, I don't even know how many pages we have, but I know we're trying to add 10 more pages a week of information, and we're trying to help people with, and all it costs them is a bit of their time. Yeah. You can spend an hour on our website before we get there. And when we get there, so often one of the spouse, one of the two, will meet with our salesman and either decide on their own or hold off so they can talk to their spouse who hasn't researched it at all, their opinion. And then when we end up going, we're meeting the spouse that hasn't done any research, and they're making final decisions.
Isn't that something? Okay, so a client has ordered a fence, for example, whatever, it doesn't matter what type or style or whatever, and they want to have it along a property line. Are there certain requirements in terms of distance from the property line?
You just can't put it on your neighbor's property. So including the concrete around the post. So we always say, mostly 3 to 4 inches away from the property line if you're not agreeing to pay half. Mm-hmm. And if you are, put it dead on the middle of the line. And then the third option is that what happens sometimes is two neighbors, one won't pay half, but they'll say to the other neighbor, "Listen, I can't afford it right now, but you go ahead and put it on the property line. The downside of that, we warn people, is once you put it on the property line, you've given half the fence to your neighbor. If your neighbor paints it pink, hangs a canoe on the fence, ties a dog to the fence, it's not so good for the fence, but it's half theirs. Nothing you can do about it.
But if that canoe and that dog is hanging on the other property, that's a different story, I guess. Or is it?
Yeah, well, if it's on their fence, that doesn't affect you. But if it's on your fence, which you've given them half, you have no rights to anything.
Now, the reason I was wondering that, a number of folks have a shared driveway, and sometimes there's a fence, in the pavement between, kind of to separate the driveways. And I was curious, from the property line, in a driveway scenario, for example,
right?
Just a couple of inches, I guess, from the property line. That's essentially, and that could be on the Quebec side, it could be on the interior side. It's both the same.
That is, it's pretty universal. You can't put it on your neighbor's property, including the concrete. So we had one customer, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, sue his neighbor for the concrete.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
And so when you're digging the post, if there's a rock and part of it caves in, you're better to use a sonotube, put earth around it, do something to keep you so you don't cross that property line. Yeah. That'd be my advice. I'm not a lawyer.
Well, I mean, that's right. Well, that's it. You need to seek some kind of advice to get it done right, and that would avoid so much hassle.
Yeah, surprisingly little how often property lines end up being a big problem. Customers anticipate that it might be a problem more than, I would say less than 1% of our customers get surveys. 99-point-something% of them, the two neighbors agree, or the one decides on his own and makes the other.
Sure. Sure. Now, we talked about this before, but for the the benefit of new folks that have tuned in to start listening to the show here, the call before you dig requirement, is this action required on all jobs?
Every job. Everywhere
Every
in
job.
Ontario, Quebec, the world. You can't dig a hole. Like nowadays with fiber optic cables going through the ground, you could be $10,000, $20,000 if you just go digging. We don't run into too much danger, but we don't want to be hitting hydro wires or gas. That's not so, we don't run into it too often because we're so careful. Yeah. But I'm shocked of contractors that come in to pick up the post for a fence that they just sold the night before. And we know there's no way they had the locates done, but and the homeowner is liable as the contractor.
Okay. So these are things that must be checked out. When somebody comes over from your office to perhaps do a site check or do some measurements or whatever, that should be part of the conversation. Definitely. We won't do any fences for, no matter what. Where we run into problems with this issue, often or more often, would be somebody buys a fence all around their yard, let's say, and the neighbor decides he wants to put a gate from that corner post to his house. You need a post by your house, and we wouldn't have called out for the locates without knowing about it. So we're 2 weeks till we can come back to put that one gate in, minimum. Wow. What determines, in terms of the type of product used in the gate or the fence or the deck or whatever, what determines the type that can be used? I mean, you had mentioned before there's wood, there's vinyl, PCV, probably steel too or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How would the client know what is best to use for their application?
A salesman will help them with that advice. Or on the website, you'll see advice. Mostly wind load. Wind load and snow load are big factors.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier about driveway gates. So if we do a big estate gate out of iron, there's no real wind load. There's no real snow load, other than if you keep the gate high off the ground, make it a wood privacy gate. It looks beautiful, but you've obviously added an exponential amount of wind load stress.
Yeah. Well, I think, it's just keeping an open mind and keeping on top of what the bylaws are and what's required in a particular municipality. And if there's any questions on that, certainly if you can't answer them or if Fence All can't answer those questions, a call to the municipality.
Absolutely. And again, nowadays it's easier than ever with the internet that you can find that. I don't know of a municipality that doesn't have a website to get your bylaw requirements.
Let's talk about warranties and guarantees. What are the types of warranties for products using steel, PVC, wood? Are they the same or different, or how do they apply?
Yeah, we do it by product. So, for instance, wood, the manufacturer doesn't warranty it. You can only talk to the manufacturer on Sunday at church. Okay. Whereas anything in steel or aluminum, we give a 5-year warranty. You'll see out there some people give a 20-year, but salt, voids the warranty. Ours is a 5-year warranty. But, we're not playing games. It's a 5-year cover-to-cover warranty. And then in vinyl, we give a lifetime warranty on most products. So lifetime means as long as you live, not 20 years. Not Our first vinyl that we installed was in 1987. We did it for a lady out in Fisher. Okay. And we just last year, or the year before maybe, gave her a free new gate because she put a pool in last year or 2 years ago.
Isn't that terrific?
So we gave her a free gate just to be nice. And maybe she'll call in if she's listening.
There you go.
But lifetime warranty.
Now, are these warranties transferable to new homeowners?
No.
Or not?
Yeah,
okay.
We don't. You know why we don't? It's real simple. We don't know if we installed the fence. So we've had customers that we have no way of finding out, did we do that fence or whatever else? And so we tell people when they buy it, lifetime, as long as you live in your home, you have a lifetime warranty on the vinyl fence.
And that's standard amongst a lot of warranties and guarantees anyway.
Yeah. Some companies do different things for sure. But that's how we do it.
Okay. When we come back, we're going to talk about installation and some of the pitfalls and benefits of having it done by the professionals at Fensall on News Talk 580 CFRA. The program, Experts on Call, and our guest is Wally Montpetit. He's the owner of Fensall over on Hawthorne Road. Drop in, check out the showroom, and you can get all the up-to-date information on their manufacturing facilities as well. Anyway, we'll be right back on News Talk 580 CFRA.
580 CFRA's Experts on Call returns in a moment. Experts on Call continues on News Talk Radio 580 CFRA.
Dave Watts with you once again this hour, and our guest is Wally Montpetit. He's the owner of Fensall, a company that's been around for 40-plus years here in the Ottawa area. And Wally, again, I got to mention those great TV commercials. If you haven't seen them, keep an eye out. Especially CTV News in the evening, you're going to see them there. They are really great. There's your daughter Sarah is involved, and for those that aren't aware, that was her many years ago to start off with.
Yeah, the first ad was her alone as a 5-year-old.
Okay.
And then eventually it was her and her sister. That's why they called it Sisters. And then the next one, we did a series of them. In the end, there's 3 daughters and 1 son. And Sarah stars in them all.
Isn't that great? Let's talk about installation. Now, we've talked about products. We've talked about why you folks are better than someone trying to do it themselves. Installation, I guess a customer can self-install if they want to.
Absolutely.
Okay, and do you provide some kind of a package of how-to? Or
Yeah, we have full instructions. The hardest part, people always ask, what's the hard part? Who should be building a fence? And I always say, if you would change your own tires on your car, you could probably, at most fences, think of installing your own fence. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of times it's a third of the price. You'll save a third of the price by doing it yourself.
So basically, your sales rep would come out, do the measurements, find out what the customer wants, get all the strategic information, if you will, go back to the facility, go back to your manufacturing facility, which is on Hawthorne.
Yeah.
And get to work, build the pieces and parts, and then deliver them all to the customer. Yeah. Now, does that include things like bolts, nails, screws, the whole thing? Yeah,
everything except for the concrete. Years ago, we used to include the concrete for the posts. The problem we had with that was we didn't know how much concrete, in this particular, you're in a bad area of Stittsville where the holes are, for whatever reason, a lot harder, and you end up using 3 times the concrete. So what would you charge? So everything else we include.
Now, if a customer wants to get something booked from you folks, they want a fence or perhaps a deck, maybe even a gazebo, whatever, railing. Say they called your office Monday morning. Here's what I want. From that point, of course, right after that, your guys will come out and they'll do some measurements. But when can they expect full installation if that's part of their
realistic
package?
Most years, most days, I would think 2 months
until
the fence is absolutely done. A little less than that, but we're about 6 weeks right now. We're in peak season still, and we're selling a little more than we can install every week this time of year.
Okay.
So we're about 6 weeks right now. So we might hit 8, and we might be a week till the salesman gets there, So I try to tell people to think ahead.
Sure. This might be a good project, certainly for March or April, at the earlier part of the summer, the spring, if it's a 6-week wait, then you'd have it installed sometime probably in June or July.
Absolutely, yeah. Right now, realistically, you're looking at July. You buy a fence today, it should be installed in July.
Now, what about a new fence has been ordered, a new deck has been ordered, da-da-da. There's lots of material kicking around, old boards and things and nails and whatnot. Do you take all that stuff away?
If we install, or if we install and we charge to remove extra, you're paying extra. So one way to save money is remove it yourself. But one of the hassles is disposing of it. And nowadays, the environment, disposing just costs more than it used to. So some people do it. A lot of people do it themselves.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Fensall itself as a go-to destination. Why is Fensall a go-to destination?
Well, people feel comfort in the 40 years of experience. So we've learned more things customers would want from mistakes we made in the first 39 years, more or less every year. And there's a comfort in that. And that's a reality that we all, certain people just know their business more. The other thing is we're the manufacturer. So a lot of people are buying stuff from somebody who's buying it from somewhere in Asia or wherever they're buying it from. And by the time it gets here, next year, they're not making the same fence. You can't buy one more panel. You can't buy the gate. You have to make your decision now. With Fensall, we're the manufacturer. The things change. Everybody does. We make improvements, but the vast majority of what we sell every year.
Now, what about gazebos? I understand that in some cases, kits aren't available.
Well, we make custom kits.
You make custom kits.
So we have both.
Okay.
If you want vinyl, we have exact kits already made. You do it yourself. If you want wood, we make you a custom kit.
Okay. Now, that kit could be something that is retrofitted to an existing deck.
Sure.
Or perhaps a standalone, if your property is big enough, obviously.
Sure. Yeah.
Or what other kind of application could a gazebo?
Well, gazebos, the roof system can fit on posts in the ground. So some people have no floor in their gazebo.
Okay.
And you walk through your yard and you might have, some people have nothing. Others put patio stones down or some version of that or interlock. Then a whole other series of people want a floor. So they'll put a deck floor and build a gazebo on top of that, or add the gazebo, like you say, the second story deck.
Off a deck.
Yeah, anywhere. We can add it to anything. The posts go in. The advantage of Fensall, one of the big advantages is we can fit material to material. We have it for gate hardware and we can install a wood post on a vinyl deck or a vinyl post on a wood deck. We can do, and so we make the gazebo to fit what it needs to be fit to.
Now, what about the design aspect of, say, a gazebo is retrofitted to an existing deck? Can that be made to look like the existing deck, or would you have to? How would that work?
Sight unseen. That's we try to. We warn you what we definitely. The one thing I could guarantee is our salesman would be able to tell you the difference. What's the one thing ours would be this, and we carry. I think it's 500 and something page color. Catalog full of 500 and something pages of pictures, and we can examples of this won't match exactly. This will be the difference so nothing should be left. And then beyond that, we make drawings. So we will do computerized drawings to show you what's the difference in what you're attaching to.
Well, super. So, if you have any questions on design aspects, put your thoughts on paper and talk to a rep.
Yeah, exactly. Talk to an expert.
That's really the best way to go. Now, your commitment to customer satisfaction is A1, I have to say. I mean, it's keeping the customer satisfied is the big priority. And I guess in order to fully appreciate what you folks have to offer is to take a visit to your Hawthorne Road facility.
Absolutely. Sure. So come by anytime. Yeah.
Now, in the showroom, you're going to see the kinds of products that you have. Obviously, measurements are going to be different and whatnot, but you can have maybe a style that you like in a fence that's better suited for your application.
Absolutely. Yeah. That gives you a comfort.
Sure.
We can give you more information if we come to see you because we can see where you're putting it. It's amazing how many customers show up in the showroom and have no idea what size their backyard is or how high their deck's going to be. They don't know to measure how high is the deck going to be off the ground. Because if the deck is this high, we need a certain size railing and we need a certain amount of stairs. Yeah. And there's a bylaw, there's building code on how big those stairs need to be. And people are totally left shocked by they have no idea that they need to know that information.
Absolutely. 3150 Hawthorne Road is the address. Wally Montpetit is the owner of Fensall, our guest this hour on Experts on Call on News Talk 580 CFRA. Wally, an interesting and most informative hour.
Thank you very much.
Great to chat with you. News is next on News Talk 580 CFRA.